Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I am your host, Fallon Jordan, and I'm so excited to have my friend Marissa Lada here, who is an amazing holistic home healer, and she's Feng Shui certified, which I always love learning more about that. And just her energy, she's one of the few people I'm still following on Instagram. And I just love your posts because I just feel like you're so connected to the same things that are important to me, like connected to the home, connected to the earth, and then connected to our actual space. And I think, yes, we have our space of our home, but then we also, you know, how much my people know, like I love my car and I'll always love any car that I have because it's a very important vessel. And you
Mhm.
happen to be inhabiting both. And I wanted to just share that we are recording, obviously on our hotspots right now because both of our internets were like not able to handle the amazing energy transmission that was coming through. So we restarted, but Marissa literally has a van and she serves her clients from her van through her company, Honey Loon Hivery. So if bees and honey have been a sign or synchronicity for you, there's another one for you. But Marissa just brings so much amazing wisdom of things that are really simple and practical that you can start doing in your home space. And really just seeing them. One of her posts recently was about a Feng Shui cure, and I got your amazing little PDF that you gifted me, and money came in. So thank you.
That's awesome. No, it's
Yeah.
I love that. It's I mean, there's so many misconceptions or like mysticism around feng shui, and a lot of times it's like how is moving a chair going to do anything? But like really the simplest shifts in your space make the biggest impact. And that's why I love feng shui too, is it doesn't have to be overly complicated. I mean, there's a lot to know about feng shui, which I think is why people get really confused about it, but like the shifts are so profound because it's just like a tiny thing you can do and it's like, whoa, that totally changed up my space and my energy.
Totally. So for if this applies, if not, just say NA and we'll move something else. But like when you do have a client who just immediately is like, oh yeah, I need this service, and they don't know that much about you and like how many amazing things that you share on a continuous basis on the gram, what is a common thing that you see with those type of clients who are totally new to all of this? Is there like something similar you see in their house where like, okay, like everyone tends to have this issue or like everyone tends to need this resolution?
I mean, I've worked with so many people with feng shui, and I will, like, everyone kind of comes for different reasons, so the cures might look a little different, but a commonality I do see a lot, is just clutter. Like, people will come to me being like, I want this, I want that, and not to judge anyone, like, I am like the least judgy designer, but it is something that like has an energetic weight to it. And people want to call in these amazing things, and then looking at their space, it's like, well, you're not actually allowing that energy to come into your space because you have this old energy, these old things, this clutter that is causing stagnation and it's preventing these energies from entering. So that is a common one I do see a lot. And when people are new to feng shui, I mean there is a lot of, again, confusion, there's a lot to understand. So a lot of what I do too is educate, just because yeah, people have come to me with different backgrounds. Some people have tried feng shui, some people are curious about it. But I would say, people that work with me do at least have some either curiosity or understanding. I highly get people who are like, I don't understand this. I don't believe in energy, because that's like the first thing you kind of need is like to be open to feng shui.
Yeah.
So at least people are there with me.
Yeah, for sure. And everyone here is definitely like whatever we can do to shift energy, improve energy, make space for things like so we're definitely with our peeps. What are especially we were talking before about color psychology. I know something that you an expert in, so I would love to dive in there. And then also what you said about patterns, because that's like a big thing to me. Like I'll see patterns and I'm like, get this away from me immediately. So I would love to hear from the expert, like what more about that, like the color and the patterns.
Yeah, and I know we were like mentioning this before our tech got messy, but yeah, just for like people who are tuning in and have never like seen my stuff or seen past podcast episodes where I come on. So I'm a holistic designer and a feng shui consultant. So my background is in interior design. I went to school for it. I've worked in the corporate world, and that is more focused on those like design, like the aesthetics, like like paint colors, patterns, materials, all of that. Feng Shui does focus on that too, but this is where I kind of like blending both of my experience because, yeah, our design choices do hold energy. And Feng Shui a lot is like add this cure, do this thing, but it's important that it still looks nice and it still connects to us. So with wall color and patterns, like both hold energy in feng shui, and of course with like the color psychology, because I know you're so focused on like the mind too. So we can look at like color is and how it impacts our energy in different ways. One is just the hue itself. So, like how the color red impacts us, how white impacts us, how purple impacts us. And then we can also look at like the value. So, like a soft pink color, which still is, at its root red mixed with white, is very different of an energy and impacts us, like both our physiology, so our bodies and our minds, different than like a flaming magenta color. So it's like the value and the intensity. Muted colors are a little more calm. They help ground us, they help relax our nervous system, where things that are high intensity, like the fire hydrant reds and the school bus yellows, like those really vivid, high saturation colors, bring more energy into a space, even if it's a more like traditionally calm color like green. Like Kelly green, for example, has a lot of energy. It's that bright, like very vivid green. Then like Kate Spade, all of her purses and all of that stuff, but that is more vivid and high energy than like a soothing sage green, and like vice versa. Like a deep earthy red is going to be more grounding than a very bright vivid like lipstick red. So that's a little on color psych, and you can apply color in so many ways with design. It doesn't have to be your walls, it can be your bedding, your rugs, your, furniture, decor, all of that, which is so nice because, a lot of times people have, at least I found, especially in today's day and age, have like an aversity towards color. I know you don't, but which I love because it's like I think people are very afraid to let their like to kind of play with color, which like a huge part of design is play, and it is just expressing yourself. And I've noticed that connection where people are like, I like color, but I'm afraid to put it, like I want white because I just want it to be versatile, or like, there's a little hesitation with just going for it. And then with pattern, I'll touch on that briefly too. So with feng shui, there's the five elements. These are water, wood, earth, fire, and metal. And each one of these elements has colors that it's associated with, has shapes and lines that it's associated with, patterns, materials, all of that. So certain patterns can bring more energy into a space, just like color. And they can also help to calm us, or they just connect to these energies in different ways. So, for example, like vertical stripes, which you can see in like maybe striped wallpaper or a pillow, or even just like wall paneling too. That helps to increase energy and kind of bring an upward movement. In design and interior design school, like we look at it as like, oh, it's moving your eye upward in a space, and it can, lengthen the height of your room and make it appear taller. Well, with the energy in feng shui too, it actually helps connect to growth and upward movement. So there's a connection there, with like certain patterns that are more curved and organic, like paisleys, um, like abstract swirls, things like that. That connects more to the water element. It's more about, again, like calmness, restoration, a little more yin versus something that has a lot of angles and movement and zigzags, which, a chevron or a herringbone. That brings a lot of intensity into a space. Like back in 2012 or 2010, when like the chevron rugs and pillows were everywhere. It was like the millennial, like, staple item was like, I need a chevron rug. Our eye just went to that because of how like dynamic and how active that pattern is. So if you want to bring more energy into a space, you can do it in other ways than color. Kind of like bringing back to the point, maybe not everyone wants to play with color yet, but you can still work with your energy of your space in different ways through pattern, through shape, material, all of that.
Amazing. That is so cool. And yeah, I was thinking and talking to a friend earlier about the elements and the elementals, which I think is fun. Um, I think what you said like really resonated. I wanted to go into this more because a lot of people just don't give themselves permission to have their home be a reflection of them. And that meaning that like, right now, like, yeah, maybe like you do need like really grounding, calming, muted colors to like support all of this healing work that you're doing with your nervous system. But at the same time, know that you're going to shift and evolve and change. And if all of a sudden you want like these bright colors and you want more like of these angles and these like really fun shapes in your house, like that's also like your home can be this continuation of a representation of your growth and your transformation as a person. And it's funny because when anyone talks about pinstripes, just like my brain immediately goes to like a pinstripe suit and like some of the stereotypes that we have of that. Cause I remember when I was, applying for like regular big girl jobs and I needed to have a suit for interviews, or so I thought. I was like, the only way I'm wearing a suit is if it's navy pinstripes. Like, I can't just wear like a normal black suit. Oh my gosh, horrible. But again, representation, like right now I'm in like basically a baby blue negligee. Like this is the thing, is like we need to like evolve and just like be open to things that feel stretchy, was what I was getting to. Like there's so many times like get out of your comfort zone, get out of your comfort zone with um all these different things in your life, and like why not allow your home to be a part of that too? And so I'd love to hear more about even tuning into the energy of some homes, and like maybe like a home that was asking for something and the owner was like, oh, like that's something I wanted to do, but like felt weird doing, right? Like it felt weird to go from white and gray to like this like bright peach or whatever.
Yeah. I actually love that you wanted to talk about this because yeah, like our homes, as we were talking, are an extension of our energy. And, they can, I say should, like not everyone gets here, but they really should be reflections of our personality and grow with us. And we kind of do that in some ways. Maybe it's like, oh, we first start off living in an apartment and we have the, like basic IKEA setup. And then,
Yeah.
oh, we evolve into like our first home. And, we get like our first couch and, like they evolve.
Totally.
And even with like changes in our lives, our spaces should shift, whether it's internal changes, like, oh, I'm changing like my style, my aesthetic, like these things kind of no longer support who I want to be, or like a physical external change, like I'm having a new baby, I need to make up a room, or I'm getting a work from home, job, so I need an office space. Like our spaces should mold and kind of shift with us, but kind of tapping into, yeah, like the feeling out people's spaces. I remember, well, gosh, I have to like think through because there's been a few, and like a lot of this kind of work I do in my Hello Holistic Home program, because it is like a really deep dive to help people reconnect to like what they want their spaces to say and how they want their spaces to like be expressed. One of the women I was working with, like her space, her herself actually, she was a very like go 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 woman. Like she in feng shui term, like reminds me of you. I think a little bit like very just like always doing things. But she had a lot of wood chi. She was like she's a grandma. She had a corporate job. She had her own like spiritual side business. She was going to like she was just so active, and actually you would think you'd want to like create a space to support that activity, but it was like feng shui is a lot of balance. So actually what she needed for her space and her living room was to bring in more like calm and grounding because, as many of us, I'm a busy bee myself, and you need the balance. You need to like recharge your energy. You just can't keep like going, going, going. You're gonna burn out. So actually what we like kind of found was that she needed a space to just calm her energy, to support, to restore it so she could keep going and going. So with the living room, we brought in more yin elements, we brought in more water, which nourishes wood in feng shui. So that was one of the things I noted. And even just like working with color for people a lot, it like as I was mentioning, people kind of have this fear of color and like, I'm someone, who likes to dig deeper. Got a lot of Scorpio placements, and it's just figuring out like why, like what is the limiting belief or what is the fear? Some people are like, "Oh, it's such a big decision." Like, it's permanent because it's going on my walls. It's like, yeah, painting isn't something that's like, a 30-minute process. It usually takes a weekend. And it does cost, $50 to $100 for paint, but it can always be changed. Um, people who also are afraid of like making the wrong decision and not trusting themselves in their
Mm.
decisions. So that's something I work on too with people is like, what's the fear there and not trusting yourself with like your choices. So there's so much of that that I also do with clients.
Totally. And I think when I hear everything that you just shared, just like totally brilliant. I think it's important too to how does this tie into, most of the people here are women who are wanting to like strengthen their, divine feminine characteristics, which is about like resting, receiving, trusting, letting people help you. And when I think about, because I've done this for myself, guys, like where we painted a giant, huge apartment. It took a really long time. But then I look back and I'm like, yeah, but like if I had paid someone who had really good energy and like really enjoyed painting, which, it's easy to do that. Facebook Marketplace, there's always someone near you who paints. Like, wouldn't that have been a better exchange? Right. Like, especially me, like it's funny how like my OCD perfectionism does not come out when I'm painting. I am messy. And I'll be honest, like when I'm painting, for me, painting margaritas, they just go together. And so it's like, you're not painting in the lines. And I'm like, it's fine. But that's because I know that, like, for me, that's something that I want to pay somebody to do who can spread that love and their vibration throughout the home. And if I do change my mind in a month because I just had a huge quantum leap that I've been manifesting, cool. I get to pay them again to do it a totally different color. And I think there's this when we think about ROI, and it's weird because like ROI, return on investment, like I literally just had like a crazy dream about this last night and realizing was like ROI was like everywhere. It's just like ROI, ROI. So this is for somebody where it's like, what's the ROI on changing the wall color, right? What's the ROI on like buying this really cool new outfit? You know what I mean? I think that's for me what a lot of the things that I've learned from you about feng shui is that it really comes down to like, yeah, like everything is energy and especially money and especially giving and receiving. And I just feel like there's this like very beautiful fluid way to grow, evolve, and get the things that you want, and like letting your home be a supportive essence of that, if that makes sense.
It totally does. And I like, yeah, just the the ROI because I mean, a lot I'll, be real. It costs, it's not like going to a like getting a massage every month or
Yeah.
buying, a pair of shoes or some jewelry. Like it's a little more of an investment.
Yeah.
And I would say like, I understand maybe we shouldn't be like totally reinventing our spaces and like buying all new things every year or so, but these small shifts and changes, yeah, totally. And I think, I get a lot of just as a designer and working with people, some people are like, "Oh, it's too expensive. Oh, not now. Oh, when I have my dream forever home." And it is like, what is that return on investment? Like so many times we think of like the cost of, oh, how much is this gonna cost? Oh, this sofa is too expensive. But then we have to think about like, okay, well, how long is that sofa going to be in your space? Yeah, it's not a $100 a month thing, but it's going to last you 20 years, and it's a space you sit on every single day watching TV and doing all of these things. And not just like that type of investment, but the ROI, like you're saying, of, oh, this is going to, like, this is a space I'm in every single day, and I'm doing so many things, and I'm living my life, and it's really meant to be this container that supports me. So why wouldn't I have a paint color that really like makes me so happy whenever I walk into this space, and it like lifts my mood? Or why not have the like linen duvet that makes me feel like $1 million when I sleep, and actually helps me sleep better because it's not the synthetic,
Yeah.
targeted product that just traps my body heat and makes me sweat profusely in the middle of the night. Um, so
I knew
there's
we were
so
going to
many.
get to the polyester because I'm really much on the polyester right now. I basically have no clothes because I threw out everything that had polyester.
Oh, good. It's funny. I mean, a lot of times people think design is so visual, but like there's a huge aspect of how things feel.
Yeah.
And I am someone who is a very feely based person, and I can't stand polyester. I touch it, I'm like, ugh, it just feels wrong, and my body is like rejects it now. Like it is
Yeah.
a toxic substance. But I also wanted to mention too, you're like talking about women who want to tap into like that feminine divine energy, and take it how you will. Like the masculine feminine energy, like whether or not you consider yourself like the traditional essence of like the homemaker and the trad wife or whatever. But like the home is a lot of feminine energy. If you're a mother, it's kind of your domain in a lot of people's sense, but also it's like putting this energy into your home. Like that is such a creative process. That's such a feminine energy to be like, okay, how do I want to shape this space to support me, to hold me? Those are such feminine characteristics of being held and receiving. And that's an aspect of feng shui, is like shifting around your space so you're able to receive certain energies, receive love, receive money, all of this. So I wanted just to like mention that briefly.
Totally. I love that. And I want to share because I've been doing this a lot and it's been like really, really, really helpful. So, I mean, Pinterest is fun, but to me, it still is just like not authentic, to be honest. Like it's still like magazine homes, all of that shit. So,
Mm-hmm.
what I do is when I want to tap into a different energy, and, again, ROI, there's a reason why people get Airbnbs to rest and relax or write a book, and like a lot of cool, magical shit happens. I like to look at Airbnbs just for fun to see what I feel like I'm needing. Like, there's a reason why am I all of a sudden like wanting this like white, modern, clean look versus like even last week, I was like, if I don't get my ass in a log cabin, like I'm literally going to lose my mind. So I think for those of you who are kind of experimenting, I just wanted to share that because it's a really fun, very free way to just see like, oh, what am I drawn to right now? And what is it that this home has that's a real home that people created that has their loving energy in it? I've never met anyone, knock on wood, that didn't that ran an Airbnb that wasn't like super amazing. There's a like, what are you drawn to and why? And like how can you incorporate that more into your life, if that makes sense? And it's also like this fun, beautiful manifestation, right? Because manifestation is like knowing what you want, but then releasing attachment. And it's like, like last week I was looking at Airbnbs in Croatia. I'm like, ooh, this would be super luxurious and fun versus like the middle of nowhere, Montana. And I think it's a way to just expand your mind of like, okay, what am I requiring that I can see, right? Tap using your visual, your eye to brain connection to your advantage. Like, what can I see and allow into my brain? And then what can I do to have more of that in my life? And it could be as simple like last weekend, I was like, I need a log cabin immediately. Like, I just needed more wood. And so I spent more time sitting at the picnic table. I sat in the wood rocking chair a little bit longer than I normally would. Like, there's ways to kind of like get what you need and require without dropping a bunch of money, but you just have to pay attention.
Yeah, and understanding like, yeah, really what those things connect to too. I mean, a lot of it is your intuition. So if you do have a very strong intuition, I think, learning feng shui and the energies is a lot easier. I remember, when I first started, I was like very tapped off from my intuition, honestly. I was like in the intellectual part of like, wood energy connects to this and blah blah blah. But now it's like I embody it so much more. But I love that. Like looking on Airbnb and just seeing like, okay, what is this space like what is it doing for me? What do I feel when I look at it? Like, with a log cabin, am I feeling more grounded and relaxed? Like, do I need to like slow down my energy and to feel like cozy in my space?
Hmm.
Do I need that white minimalist space that makes me feel more like clear and get more clarity? So I like that as this like yeah, just a nice little like spiritual attunement of like, okay, what am I needing based on these spaces I'm attracted to? I love that
It's
actually.
it's so fun. And I think that, and not to scare anybody, but you're here for a reason. I feel like a lot more people who resonate as being a like energy healer or like, a leader in the new earth, like we are gonna move a lot. And it doesn't
Mhm.
necessarily mean that like we sell our place and like pack up and completely move and start new. But I feel like because we need to be in all these different areas of the planet and like there's so many different activations that Gaia wants to give us, that it's going to be really important for us to really understand like what do we need and why. And I'll remember when I felt done with my dream, beautiful, perfect apartment and my amazing teal couch that I'm still not over. I love that couch so much. It was really sad for me. I'm like, how can I be over this like beautiful place that like the fact that it even happened was just like total magic to vote, you know what I mean? But that's the point,
Mhm.
is like if I say that I want to grow and evolve in these ways, then my home has to too. And I needed to get away from that particular energy into something totally new.
Yeah, you brought up a lot of things from, I mean, because I still think about one of my apartments and I'm like, oh, I love it so much. It really supported me, but also like I kind of recognize now, like I have such a nostalgia and a fondness for it, but I'm also like, yeah, but I recognize it didn't serve me. Like there's a reason why I chose to like do van life
Mm-hmm.
and actually be a little uprooted and travel to these places like you're mentioning. Like I've traveled to so much of the country. Like I haven't really done the East Coast too much, but it is, talking about earth energy and like Gaia and these different natural environments and just locations in general, different cities, towns, regions of the country, like it is so interesting for me to like tune into those energies and be like, okay, like I see why, the energy kind of like shapes the energies of like the people and maybe the culture and also like what people are like last spring I went to Sedona. It was my first time, which I know like, people in the spiritual community are like Sedona, it's the big like the vortexes. And but just like going there and experiencing it, but also seeing how the nature and that surrounding environment influences the healing energies there. It's the desert. It's got a lot of fire energy and it's got like a lot of earth energy with the red rocks too. So there's a lot of like what I felt at least is like grounding, but also like this fire transformation energy of like shedding, rebirthing. I know for a lot of women, people like women go there to have these like transformative experiences. I feel like, yeah, that the energy there of the natural surroundings really supports that. And yeah, so it's interesting to see how those different places really impact like, your energies too.
Yeah. So if someone here is like, oh, my dream is to just have van life, what would be the biggest piece of advice you would give them?
Well, I would say totally do it. I mean, that was my calling as like I mean, I've always liked tiny homes, but I never thought like I could actually do a van. I was like, maybe more of a traditional tiny house on wheels, like on a flatbed. But I would say, go for it, but also I will like it was a huge learning experience for me. And it might be for people who are feeling called to it too, because it does shape you in like it fostered me to step out of my comfort zone in so many ways. Like I am someone that really likes grounding. I really like to have a plan, to like, know what's happening and maybe have some, control issues, type A personality. And van life is like, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know where you're going to be tonight. You don't know how long you're going to stay here. So it really allowed me to like tune in and just like feel into things more, but also, to slow down my pace because I am someone who's like, gotta go, gotta do these things. And van life, like, you have so much more freedom. So it is like, I have nowhere to be. Like, I can just chill and be here for a while. So, yeah, I would say go for it, but also like don't be over romanticized with the whole like Instagram. Because I mean, there's realities to van life that I learned that I also am like, I'm glad I experienced it. I know this now. I know certain things like aren't for me with it. But I'm still doing it.
Well, I think it's amazing. And I think there's a reason why like people have that fantasy, right? And especially if they're tuning in and, are new to your world and start following you on Instagram and stuff. Like it's just like you get to feel like you're part of the adventure with adventure. I was gonna say adventure and Marissa at the same time.
I liked it. It sounded adventurous.
Adventure.
I will say though, like, I mean, granted, there's not much adventure happening right now. I think, like we said, we're in a bit of a hermit mode, and I definitely have been. Which is like totally fine to be in as well. I'm kind of
Yeah,
accepting that. Like, not all the time I have to be going and do. I love adventure, but I was like, this is not what I need right now. But yeah, there is a reason people are called to van life. Like it is very freeing and empowering. And it is a bit ironic because I work with homes and then I'm like traveling around in a van, but also like it makes you more intentional with your stuff too.
yeah,
And I've shared on my platforms, like I grew up with hoarding that runs in my family, and I could see how much like stuff really does kind of control your life. And I do love, I'm still a maximalist, which is like a misconception I want to just like shed is like
yeah,
you can have a tiny home, you can be clutter free without, and you can be a maximalist and yeah, you can have it all. But um yeah, I just realized too is like I didn't want to be a slave to my stuff and I wanted to be very intentional with the things I brought in and kept. And it is so freeing to be like to not have necessarily the weight of like, oh, I have this apartment and I have all these things and how am I going to get rid of it? And like, it can weigh you down in some ways. Or it can support you. I mean, it's really like where you're at in your life too.
totally. Yeah. And your van is absolutely beautiful. So definitely make sure you guys start following Marissa on the gram because it's just so fun. Like I literally get to feel like I'm in your van.
Thank you. I know it's a little blurred background right now, but talking about like Montana log cabin, it's definitely a log cabin vibe, which like for me was the intention when I designed it. I wanted to feel very cozy, no matter where I was, because that is a reality of van life. Like when you're traveling, it's not always these glamorous camping spots out in like the wilderness. It's a lot of Walmart parking lots. So I wanted to feel like I was in the woods,
Yeah,
even if I was on like the side of the highway.
exactly. And I think that it's such a, I mean, I definitely know that you're a pioneer. And I just think that a lot of the things that you've been doing just like intuitively for so long that you don't even think about with the interior design and the way that you do it with the feng shui, with the van life, I feel like there's gonna be so many more people coming into this space. And who knows, maybe there'll be like these cute little huts where like everybody just is connected and parks in the same place together.
I love I've seen it actually happen more and more where people are doing like van life like communities or camping spots like hip camps which I love. Like there is a movement with it. I mean, it's been a movement for at least 5 years because like I got my van in 2020 when it was like, up and coming and people were like, ooh, van
All the cool
life. And
people are
now
doing it.
yeah, now it's kind of like everyone's not to say it's like a well, it might be a trend, but anyway, like it does seem more and more people are doing it, and um, yeah, and even just with like the holistic spaces, I started it in tw like my business in 2020, and I just kind of intuitively, like, not that I've coined this, but I'm like, holistic design, holistic homes. Like, it makes sense that we should look at our spaces as more than the aesthetic and like integrate the energy and how it makes us feel and the health of our homes and sustainability and organization and all that. And I mean, as a designer, it's like I kind of look at trends. I don't necessarily adhere to them, but it's like, education to be like, what's happening in the design world? And like more and more people are interested in holistic like spaces, are interested in how our spaces impact our well-being and the sustainability of our spaces and the energy. And it's just, yeah, I feel like it's a movement that more people are wanting to be a part of because, like I said, we spend so much time in our homes and they really should be doing all of these amazing things for us. Like there's a potential, this tapped, unlocked potential that just like is waiting to be brought up in all of our spaces.
Totally. And I just have this visual, like I love fantasy books.
Mm.
And, when any fantasy books that you read that have to do with like witches, like the house will like, oh, someone new is coming over. Everybody get ready. And the house will like do crazy stuff to like get ready to see if they like the new person or not. I don't know why, but that was like coming through and I thought it was funny. And um I'm like the biggest proponent of reading fantasy just in general because it really opens your mind to things. And that's one of the fun things that I like to do is like reading the energy of homes and like what can the home do to support me and like my goals with my health and my relationships. And you just do that so beautifully. And I'm just so grateful for everything they're always sharing and especially with us today.
Oh, thank you. And I love actually like the fact that you mentioned the witch. I mean, I call myself a witch and I love fantasy for those reasons. It like taps you into more of like your third eye and expansion and your intuition and all of that. But witches, like their homes, they understood that it was an extension of their energy and it was
Mm-hmm.
magical. And like all of the things that witches do, like the broom and sweeping. Actually, sweeping is a huge energetic cleanse of your home. Like sweeping away not only the dust, but like the negative energies out your front door. Um, like naming your house too, like the hearth of your home, that has such a power to it. It is like the fire that fuels and really channels a lot of energy. So I love that you brought up the witchiness. But anyway, if you want to
Well,
learn
and
more about
it's
this,
funny
hit me
about
up.
the name because the name is so important. And people, I'm sure people listening are like, what are you talking about? It's like, yeah, your home
Yeah.
wants a name and it'll tell you. You just have to, tap in however you want to do that. But growing up in Maine, there's a lot of like vacation homes and it's like all like little log cabins with basically no plumbing, like on the lakes and stuff. And if anyone hasn't seen this before, I'm just going to paint you a picture. Like you're going down a little dirt road that you feel like doesn't lead to anywhere. And then all of a sudden you'll see a sign on a tree with like all these little pieces of wood with little arrows of like which house is where. And they're all names. And so I kind of grew up as a kid knowing that like there's names for a house. And sometimes it's like the name of the family, but like other times like it's an actual name. And I always thought that that was really cool. I feel like we should definitely be sharing this worldwide. Everything
We should be.
deserves to have a name. You like, my car's name is Ruby. Like everyone deserves to have a little name so that you know how to greet them and ask them for what they need.
100%. And I was just gonna, before you said it, like a lot of us name our cars.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, our homes, like even just manners, like, I didn't grow up necessarily with those, but like watching, or reading fantasy where it's like, the chateau, the manor, like something manor, and like maybe
Yeah.
last name, but it does have like it gives more intention to your space. And even with Airbnbs, bringing that around, like a lot of
Mm-hmm.
Airbnbs are named, like granted it might be marketing wise, but it also helps you to like kind of tap into that energy of like, oh, this is like the cozy cabin, and oh, I see why it's named that because it does, bring comfort into my life. So yeah, I would say that could be an awesome little exercise for people listening is, yeah, just like sit with your space and kind of, maybe meditate on what your home's name is, and then, that can even strengthen your connection and understanding what it wants, like what to move in your space, what to add, like colors and things like that.
Totally. I love it. Amazing. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much for being here, Marissa. Thank you for everyone tuning in. And I will put Marissa's website and Instagram below. Is there anything else that you wanted me to put in the show notes?
Um, I mean, for people who are wanting to tune in and start applying feng shui more, I'm happy to add a little link to a free guide that people can download. And yeah, it just helps them to start to work with feng shui. Maybe even the one I sent you that you were
I loved it.
manifesting some money.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
amazing. And it
because it
worked.
is again, really simple things you can be doing that you actually might already be doing, but you just don't have the intention behind it.
Right.
So,
I
yeah,
think that's important.
I will share that.
I
Yes.
think the first house witchy thing I ever did was putting salt around the house. And even doing that
Ah,
and then learning more about Morton iodized salt, probably not the best energy to be using when I could be using like sea salt or like ideally like Celtic salt, like just those little
uh,
things that maybe you've already like heard about doing, or like the cinnamon sticks, like where did you get the cinnamon sticks? What was the process of buying them? Like, I feel like just, we talk about this here all the time. Like, intention means everything. And you also always have the power to transmute. So if you're like, I'm going to use iodized Morton salt, but I'm going to transmute it into a high frequency salt, you could do that too. But,
yeah, I mean, we're so powerful.
exactly. And I'm so excited that everyone is here and going to tune in. Marissa's world is just a beautiful, very fun, grounding place to be. And we're just so grateful that you're
Oh,
tuned in, and we're sending you so much love.
oh, and thank you, Fallon. Likewise, it's always such a joy to connect with you because you have such a radiant energy as well.
Thank you, love. And thank you, everyone. And we will talk soon. Bye for now.